Hey guys, welcome back to DNA Customs. Nothing like the smell of coffee and grinding dust in the morning. I'm trying to get an early start today. It's supposed to be 90 degrees today, so I really want to get out here and try and get something done before it gets to be unbearable. I got the steering wheel out of the 2007 chassis. I am going to continue on focusing on putting the 68 Charger dash into the 2007 chassis. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, dash frame on the 2007. I'm just going to pull that out for now because that's going to be a lot of the headaches. So let me get this camera set up and we'll start getting that torn out. Alright, so it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad to take this dash frame out. I got a bunch of wires that are held on by plastic clips. I got a couple ground spots. Got one here, got one down here, and I think there's another one down here behind the steering wheel. I'm going to have to take off the AWD2 connector. I already have the hood release undone. I'm going to unscrew this. There's a Phillips head up here, two down here. Then this will stay in there. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot to it. The only thing really holding it in is two 10mm screws down here behind this console. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll see them as I take them out. So I'm going to go through anything like these grounds. Whenever I disconnect them, I got my tape and my Sharpie. I'm going to wrap some tape around it, mark it so I know exactly what it goes to. This thing here, I don't even know if it was connected because it wasn't. This was just hanging in there. I don't know what that does. So I might have to figure that out. I'm going to go through, start getting these plugs undone, get everything unbolted, and see about just getting this lifted up out of here. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Didn't plan on that steering wheel dropping down the way it did though, but that's okay. That'll be getting remounted. As soon as I can get the dash in here, figure out where things are going to go, I'll find a mounting point for it. So, get that 68 dash, see if I can get that sitting up in here. Even just a little bit. So if there was ever a point you start a project and you start thinking to yourself, what did I get myself into? Well, this is that point for me. And I started with the dash because I knew this was going to be probably the hardest part. So let me turn this camera around, show you what I am trying to contemplate. We'll figure it out. It looks like a mess right now. It's just a matter of figuring out how things are going to go. Like, I knew this dash was going to need modified. The main thing I wanted was the top piece of the dash because that looks like the 68 Charger. The dash pad face where the gauges and the AC controls and all that go, that's all going to have to be custom made. But let me turn this around and I will show you what all I am looking at right now. Alright, so here's where things stand. This centerpiece, I know is going to have to come out. I planned on this section coming out anyways because I want the center console to kind of come up and try and blend with this dash pad up here. I apologize, this video is bad. I can't get it to zoom out any more than what it is. But I have some minor interferences over here I have to address. And then I also have down here where the mount is for the lower portion of the dash. It is actually hitting the emergency brake on the inside. You can see that right there. So, you know, it's not that I can't figure it out. It's just all the things going through your head to figure it out. Like, I'm gonna end up taking the center section of the dash frame that was in here, I'm going to run it up. I'm going to end up probably running a support off of that. I'm going to end up running it over to support the lower part of this dash. I'm going to have one running over here to support the steering wheel, which, by the way, all of this part here is going to have to be lowered down in order for the 2007 gauges to fit in here. So right now I'm just kind of pondering and plotting and planning and gonna have to figure out what my next steps are to make this thing fit the way it's supposed to. Well, obviously it's not supposed to, but the way I want it to. Now I am gonna hold on to these pieces just in case I have to put anything back. I don't want to go through and remake something if I already have the profile for it. Kind of like this key slot over here. But judging by the way it wasn't going to clear like all this stuff anyway, so I may end up having to do something different with that. Now I think I'm going to take the dash frame that was bolted down here. I'm going to start modifying it to fit in behind all of this. Alright, here we have the frame that was behind the dash on the 2007. These here is what connected down to the center console. This ran across the top of the dash. This is the steering wheel mount. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece off, eliminate all of this. I'm going to end up taking this piece here off and pretty much all of this over here. I want to keep this piece because this is the steering wheel mount. Once I figure out where the steering wheel mount's going to go, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to weld this back into place. That way I already have the bolt holes already figured out on that. Alright, that is all I am left with. And this is what I'm going to use to start building my own reinforcements depending on where I find everything fits. Alright, got the dash sitting where it's supposed to sit. Got all the screws along the edge. So it's nice and sturdy where it's sitting. I took off the rest of this dash panel that was down here because that's all going to need modified anyways. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try and stick this frame or this dash frame under there so I can kind of support that side, and I'm going to use that to build the new dash frame from that. Alright, Alright, I got my 24-inch piece of 1x1. I'm going to weld that to the existing dash frame. That way these gauges will actually sit right on top of it. Just like this. I may end up having to cut some of these notches out. But this is just temporary. I just need to see where things are going to land. Yeah, just like that. Now the gauges are sitting in there. And then I'll tie this in over here once I'm done building the rest of this. This is just to figure out how much room I have behind this in order to put some of the stuff that was behind the existing 2007. I got this box. I don't know what this box is, but it has to go up in there somewhere, and then I need somewhere to mount the steering wheel to. Like, I might actually be able to move that up a little bit if I cut some of this lip off. But that's a good starting point, though. I want to make sure whenever I get the steering wheel mounted, the gauges are centered over the steering wheel. So, next order of business. I have to figure out how I'm going to mount the steering wheel to all of this. I figure this would be a good mounting point to weld that bracket to, but I'm afraid the steering wheel is going to be down way too far. Granted, these seats still have to go down, but I'd like it to be up close to the gauges as much as possible, just to give us some more ground room down there. I might even see if I might have to build this up, just bring this center section up to the underneath of that. I think that's what I'm going to have to do, because I want this steering wheel up further. I'm afraid that's not going to work. Yep, I'm going to raise it up. So that piece I just put in can come back out. I'm going to put some marks on this. That way I know where the dash cluster is already sitting. That way, once I clear this, I can come up and then over. And I'm going to go cut off the mounting point for that steering wheel, so I know like how far I have to work with bringing that up. It doesn't have to be all the way. It doesn't have to tuck up right next to this. So I'm going to go over, cut that off real quick, bring that over, and see how wide it is. Alright, so after many revisions and trial and errors, this is what I've landed on so far, and I'm still not quite sure it's exactly what I'm looking for. But I'll show you what it is. Alright, so I ended up bringing this piece out even more. I put an angle on this one. Before, this is just straight across. And I think what that did is that pushed the steering wheel so far back that I was kind of afraid that it was going to bind. There wasn't really a whole lot of room, so I moved it out some, and then I put this lip here up so I can kind of bring it up closer to the gauges. I'd still like to try and bring it up some, but I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and you guys let me know what you think. Alright, so I just have this piece of scrap steel here just supporting this end because I'm not quite sure what other bends I'm going to have to put in it, so I left a bunch of extra there so I could play with it. Now this steering wheel, it feels awful big for this car, and it feels like it's sitting awful low. Granted, these seats still need to be lowered a little bit. So I'm going to probably work on that next before I actually decide whether this needs more work or not. Just trying to get everything where I think it's going to end up being in the end. I don't want to end up chasing my tail trying to put the steering wheel in a spot where this seat sits if I'm going to end up lowering the seat. And all of this stuff, it's not going to be there. I'm taking that out. It's no longer going to be an adjustable steering wheel. It's not going to... It still might telescope. I don't know yet. But But the 68 Chargers didn't have that, so if it doesn't, that's not the end of the world. So, let me get these gauges up in here. So that's about where those gauges are going to sit. Everything's pretty much in line right now. And then this steering wheel, if I can get it on in a timely manner, because you have to have it on just right. There we go. So, this is where the steering wheel is right now. And then, if you look, there's really not a whole lot of room. But again, I'm going to lower these seats down. They're going to be lowered probably, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches, something like that. I'll get them as low as I can. But I know this thing, it's definitely going to have to go. So, I'm going to get an outside shot, show you what it looks like. And you guys let me know, is it? I mean, it actually looks okay from outside. Maybe it's just inside because the seats are so high. Alright, so this is what it looks like from outside. Like, it actually looks like it sits pretty decent. I mean, aside from that seat being too high. But, I mean, it's not really above the dash. I think I kind of like it where it's at. I think it's just that seat's sitting too high. I would like to find a different steering wheel for it. I'll have to start looking around, see what I can find. But this is where we're at so far. And building that bracket took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I mean, granted, I know it's going to take time, but I didn't plan on spending all day building that one thing. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. All in all, it was a decent day. We got the gauge sitting where we want it to sit. We got the steering wheel mounted. I think we may have gotten the whole dash contour figured out. If anybody has replaced a steering wheel with a different style, maybe an airbag delete, something that might look a little more retro for this car, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to see what you found. This one I don't think it's going to fit the look that I'm going for. I'll keep chopping around, see what I can find. But if you want to follow this build, like, subscribe, notifications, comments, all that stuff. Until next time.